Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Wile 2.
Really, you guys are doing the voice? Alright, that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big adventure into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and roll on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, we're talking Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Episode 3. Power Broker, baby! Power Broker! Who is the Power Broker? That is the question. My theory is that it's Howard the Duck. All right.
Setting yourself up for disappointment.
I know. But wouldn't that be wild if it was, though?
It kind of throw all the
like on the 0.0001% chance that actually ends up being the case.
And all the seriousness, if that's the case, like all the seriousness this show is built up would immediately be thrown out the window.
What better way to celebrate Easter than talk about the MCU Easter eggs? I mean, what better way?
Well, we could talk about the Space Jam trailer Easter eggs, but I'm still upset that the Iron Giant is apparently being hoarded out for 90s nostalgia. So, yeah, that's... You want my thoughts on that, folks? Before we get to memoirs tomorrow, that's my thoughts. I'm just not a fan of my boy, the Iron Giant, being hoarded out like that. But
anywho,
okay. So, guys, I'm just gonna say it. I like this show a lot, but it's not grabbing me in the same way WandaVision is. To me, this is very much just kind of like, baseline Captain America corner of the MCU. Kind of military espionage, and it's all really good. It's all really solid. But I really have a feeling that this show is probably going to turn into the TV show equivalent of Winter Soldier, the movie, where, I appreciate it a lot, but I don't quite think it's up there as like a masterpiece, whereas Dragon, that is one of your all-time favorite films. So with this episode, I like a lot of things about this episode. Let me be clear. Obviously I like Zemo. I think Zemo. I honestly think it's a big surprise that we're getting as much Zemo as we are. At least from my perspective, I just assumed he was going to be like a one scene kind of Hannibal Lecter style deal. So him tagging along on the team, I think, was probably the best part of the episode. Where I'm not so on board with this show is I don't want to call the plot confusing because it's not, but it's a tangled web, and I'm not quite vibing with just how much espionage is at play here. I think it's all good. I just think it's maybe a little too complicated for its own good. And I'm sorry, but I'm still not vibing with the Han Solo chick. I'm sorry. Empress Ness. I'm still not vibing with her. I get the point of her character. I get that it's like, ooh, look, she's a sympathetic villain, and she looks like just a harmless, innocent little girl, but she's secretly evil, and she'll stop at nothing. Ooh, it's like, no, I just don't care. I get it. I just don't care. And Sharon Carter was good. Sharon Carter was a return to form. So honestly, I'm not quite in love with this episode. I obviously think Zemo is the best part of it, but I do kind of have a sinking suspicion that this is going to kind of cause a riff of like, I have a feeling Jacob, I don't know. This is the first time we've had you on to talk about the show, so I'm interested to know your thoughts in general, but I have a feling this is where Dragon and I are just going to be like, but Tiki, it's a masterpiece of storytelling, I'm telling you. And I'm just not there yet. All right, who wants to go next?
Dragon.
Oh, sure. Right after the whole Tiki thing, you're going to throw me into that. Sure.
Well, fine. Like, well, of course I am. I'm the new guy here, so of course I am.
All right. Here are my thoughts on the Power Broker episode. All right. Overall, I thought it was a great introduction, or reintroduction for Zemo. We're very much teeing up the mystery of the Power Broker. That seems really interesting. I know people are going to be speculating like crazy. I've already heard some outlandish theories already, but not as outlandish as Howard the Duck, but outlandish.
I'm proud of that
one. Very sad. Okay, so anyway. But so I'll admit though, this episode it's a little bit more, it's more exploration and exposition. But I will say,
I take back everything I said. You and I are on the same page, and I love it.
well, I wasn't finished, but
okay.
So I think this one is a little bit more exploration, exposition, but I think it's well threaded, though. I think the needle's been well threaded, and I'll admit it's no episode 2, but it's solid. I think it's very solid plotting, and again, I think we're at the midpoint. I think we've set up everything we kind of need to pay off, and I think hopefully we'll get everything paid off within the next 3. It seems, if I'm just kind of feeling it out at the moment with by episode 3. So that's where I'm at on it.
Dragon, you and I are shockingly on the same page about this. I'm surprised how simpatico we are with each other.
Wasn't turned off by any of the espionage stuff though.
I will say though, Dragon, I think you hit it right on the head. You mentioned the word that to me was this episode's biggest problem. That was exposition. Man, there were a couple scenes, especially the one with Empress Nest and her brother or whatever.
I think one you mean Empress Nest, okay, not Empress Nest.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, Empress Nest.
Get your hang-ups right, would you?
But that scene was just purely hey, I am going to exposit our backstory and how we relate to each other. I did not like that scene at all. I thought that scene was super clunky, honestly. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a very solid episode. And Dragon, I think I'm gonna be right there with you. I think Zemo in this one episode is way more interesting than he ever was.
Zemo definitely was the scene stealer for sure. We did a lot of great Zemo payoffs. I mean, Zemo I felt was very satisfying in Civil War, but what we did here with him, we'll get there.
I liked him in Civil War. I just don't think he had a screen presence like he did in this.
Anyway, let's turn it to the young buck in the room here. Let's turn it to let's give the boy a turn.
All right, Jacob.
I mean, do you want my thoughts on the episode, or are there?
Well, honestly, overall and lead
overall.
Episode. So start off with overall and just bleed into the.
Well, overall, it seems to be pretty interesting so far. I seem to be with the general consensus of you guys that it's not captivating me as much as early WandaVision did, but it's not. It's also an entirely different show comparing apples and oranges too.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you'll see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is immediately better than WandaVision," and you'll see the show that WandaVision was immediately much better. So, you'll see you're going to see that kind of thing. So, I'm on the camp that I like that. I'm a sucker for kind of old timey kind of stuff like that sometimes. So, cheesy sitcom stuff like that. So maybe that's one reason why.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's not saying that I dislike Winter Soldier at all. In fact, Winter Soldier's up there's Winter Soldier's an extremely good movie, if you ask me.
As it should be.
So overall, I think the series is capturing it's kind of capturing the vibe of that Winter Soldier, obviously, but also with elements of Civil War as well. Maybe not as grand a scale as Civil War was, but
no giant man.
Yeah. Obviously, no giant man yet, but I think in terms of the action set pieces and everything, I think it's more in line with. I think it takes cues from both Civil War and Winter Soldier,
minus the giant text on the screen. But yes,
obviously minus the giant text, obviously. But I think in terms of I think it's delving into some interesting aspects that we haven't explored in the MCU before. I mean, I'm not going to go into full details because you guys have probably gone over it before in your previous 2 episodes. But I think it's an interesting take on sides we haven't seen so far, peeling back some layers that that's going to be interesting to see how it all pays off in future episodes. And as for this episode goes, I think it was a solid one so far. I mean, obviously we got to see Zemo in his mask, which is obviously a highlight.
Oh yeah.
Finally get to see it, and finally be known as Baron Zemo with his purple.
For sure. That was great.
Yep. So,
Dragon, I'm dying to know something. All right, just to kick it off. Smiling Tiger. Is that anyone? Is that a reference? Is that a D-grade character?
Pretty much, but here's the thing. So, I mean, I guess D-grade character in terms of if I were to assign a lower tier letter to it, maybe D would be accurate. Because basically, Smiling Tiger there are a couple X-Men references in this episode which people are buzzing
Because as
about.
soon as I saw that costume, I was like, "Oh, that's got to be something."
Okay, so that's a dual reference. Okay, just real quick, that's a dual reference. Okay, so the outfit is a reference to Sam Wilson. Okay, so I don't know if we really dug in. I mentioned the character's name once when we did our Black History Heroes thing on Falcon, but
yeah,
I didn't want to linger on because it's not a good era for the character. When Falcon was introduced, it was not very. It could have been a little bit more flattering, and he essentially dressed like that. He dressed essentially like a pimp, and for all intents and purposes, if I recall, he may have been actually like he's really street level, potentially a pimp as well. The original before they kind of retconned that instantly. Say it was the Red Skull to Cosmic Cube, he brainwashed him. Essentially, that's what happened. Then they kind of retooled it to again, kind of basically the Falcon, close to the Falcon we have now. And however, Smiling Tiger, that's it's kind of like a knockoff Wolverine character.
Oh God! Oh no!
Basically, it's this character who basically has like kind of the head shape of Wolverine, yellow with kind of like almost like a Carnage-like smile, and it's like just if you look at him, he's really generic.
Sabretooth is kind of already a Wolverine knockoff.
Well, that's more of a familial battle, but sure. I mean, that's.
I mean, for cutting hairs. Splitting hairs.
Sure. Well, I'm just saying this one was literally like we try to make him look like kind of like he's very much kind of a filler X-Men villain. Essentially, if you look at Smiling Tiger, it's pretty much what it looks like. Hey, we need someone who looks vaguely like Wolverine. Let's go with that guy.
Oh God.
So that's kind of the mix there. So he looks like original Falcon, but he has like the alias of like kind of a Wolverine character because we kind of go to one of Wolverine's favorite places in the Marvel universe this episode, Madripoor. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Is Madripoor a real place or?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's made up. I think it's based on. It's kind of like here and there, if I recall.
I mean, I was just wondering. I just wonder if it's like I just wonder if it was actually like a real place.
I'm pretty sure it's I want to say it's entirely fictional. It's just all over the Marvel and the comics within the X-Men stuff because like Wolverine goes there like all the time. He loves it in Madripoor.
All right, because it kind of reminded me of
the
like
vibe. It was kind of like Tortuga in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Like location wise, I kind of thought it was more like in like Southeast Asia kind of thing.
Well, that's where it's kind of like somewhat of like a Hong Kong sort of location. That's kind of what it's based on.
Like I was thinking like Korea. Korea's not exactly Southwest Asia, but I was thinking like Vietnam or Laos or something along that line.
Well, it was kind of their fill-in for just in general, like overseas. Like we need kind of a grandiose location that we can kind of have like the high town and low town of like maybe a Yakuza-filled Tokyo, so to speak. But like a little bit more ragtag, like people from all sorts of backgrounds, which is kind of what you see here. Like not everyone, it's not just like all like an all Asian demographic. It's people from all over kind of going to this place, kind of around there.
They kind of did highlight its lawlessness. So
that they did very well.
Where that like all kinds of people. There's like basically even if they have a bounty, they're basically safer there than they are anywhere else.
All right. So let's get into the Zemo of it all.
Yes, let's talk Zemo.
Zemo.
So I'm really excited that we get this whole like, the bad guy is now joining the team to redeem himself because I gotta say, guys, I love that trope in fiction. I love the whole the bad guy who people don't trust now has to join up with us. We did it in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, weirdly, is like one of the best implementations of that with the Norrington character. I always cite that. But
Daniel Bruhl is such a good actor. He did that show. I think you can watch on HBO Max now. It's called The Alienist. It's from all I hear, it's really good. I never gave it time, but but
you can tell he's having fun with it.
Absolutely. So Zemo, I love how we show how smart the guy is. And that was his greatest quality in Civil War. And we kind of bring that to the fray here.
And I honestly don't think he's like. I mean, this could just like be something I noted, but I honestly don't think he's joining them to redeem himself. I think he's planning something.
Oh, absolutely. Zemo's
totally.
Yeah. So I got spec on that, but just up front though, I do love again. We see him so smart, like these moments of like he says the code words, knowing they're not going to work, just to see Bucky's reaction, so you can gauge how he's dealing with things in the aftermath. Oh,
and God. He even straight up basically says like, "Yeah, I know it doesn't work. I'm just trolling you, man. I just want your reaction."
I love the editing of. I just love the edit of this. Really, one already such a great introduction within that little Hannibal Lecter scene, but it gets even better as we just have this smooth escape and hypothetical as Bucky frames.
Escape scene scene.
Yes.
I honestly think that escape scene might be my favorite scene of the series. So
It's
far.
great, right?
Yeah, I think it
He
was really,
escaped
really
with
well executed.
All it took was a piece of paper.
Right.
He's like, he's going to kill you tonight. Kill him first.
Yep. And he so smoothly took a guard's uniform and they walked the rest of the way. It was awesome. So here's the genius thing. So many people have lobbed, and it's a very accurate comparison, and it's a great comparison. Many people have lobbed sort of the Lethal Weapon comparison for what the show is, with the whole Falcon Winter Soldier. Well, they're very much kind of Riggs and Murtaugh-esque, especially with, kind of more Riggs being little off his rocker, very much like Bucky.
So far, this is kind of like Lethal Weapon meets 48 Hours.
Sure, more so Lethal Weapon 2 because you have Leo Getz, the Joe Pesci character who's very much kind of the annoying guy they had to babysit who's always like getting in the show. So very much Zemo is Joe Pesci he's Leo Getz.
Right.
Which is just genius. So again, we're absolutely not only are we doing we're doing Lethal Weapon 2, everyone's favorite Lethal Weapon. But yeah, so Brule was an MVP. So talking about the Baron thing. So the Baron thing was, I didn't even expect it because I was like, he's Baron Zemo in our hearts, but I didn't figure it was ever going to happen. But when they named her, oh my God, we went the full Baron. Yes.
Okay, you see, and this is why you get more enjoyment out of this show than I do, because for me, the Baron Zemo thing was always just like, yeah, if they call him Baron, that's fine. I don't know. I know that's what they call him in the comic books. I'm down for whatever.
But no,
I'm
what's
a
really
much
cool
more
about
casual
it too.
observer of this whole thing.
What's really cool about it, though, is that they actually gave it, there's, a reason in here, why, they just address, wait, you were rich this whole time? I was rich until you guys ruined my country. Ultron basically broke Sokovia. Yeah, it was cannibalized by other countries, which, by the way, I think might be a setup for Latveria, for the Fantastic Four. I think Latveria cannibalized some of Sokovia.
I could see that.
And here's the thing. Here's the cool thing about the Baron thing. No one's really talking about. I like to think, it's all headcanon, mind you. It's nothing that's confirmed. But I like to think that, because again, he used to be royalty before that happened. I like to think with Zemo's whole outlook on the superheroes and everything, is that this is a guy who might have been humble with powers. And he was, he's a little more, he didn't let power go to his head, which is adds to the grudge and how he judges the Avengers, who at the Tony Starks of the world absolutely let power go to their head, and then they create Ultron and stuff like that. With the whole Baron thing, thing. And of course, the thing's getting better on the planes, like a butler. If it doesn't pass the smell test, give it to them. It's great.
All right.
The Notebook, by the way, Steve's Notebook.
Yeah, that was a good touch for sure.
Yeah,
go on.
And Bucky's reaction when he was reading the amends list.
Yep, Nakajima. He ain't happy. Now, what's so great about that, too, is now Zemo is armed with a new way to get into Bucky's head. And I love how, at the same time, he's getting into both their heads throughout the course of the episode, which I'm sure is going to pay off wonderfully. He's armed with some Bucky information. And using the Notebook, he has that wonderful conversation with Falcon about he's basically going to bat for Trouble Man. Oh, but James, Trouble Man, it represents the African American experience so well. It's hey, that's a little offensive, but he's right though. It's great. Everyone loves Marvin Gaye. So again, the whole Falcon kind of dealing with the African American experience by way of how it applies to the Captain America legacy to the whole season. Very much I think Zemo is becoming aware of this, and he's going to weaponize that later on. So yeah, there's a lot of great Zemo setup here, I'm sure.
He's probably going to try and turn them against each other even more.
Quite possibly.
I mean, to be fair, he did turn the Avengers against each other before.
Yeah, exactly. He broke up the Avengers. That's huge. So let me tell you my favorite scene in the whole episode, just to round out all the Zemo stuff, and we'll get to the other things.
I wonder if Zemo was dusted.
That's an interesting question. Some people have asked, how long has he been in prison? Well, roughly, if he didn't get blipped at, probably 7 to probably 7 to 8 years, because it's 5 years, along with the time between Civil War and Infinity War. But it's. I like to think he didn't get blipped. Personally, I like to think he didn't.
Okay.
But so my favorite thing with Zemo in this whole episode, outside of the mask, because the mask is awesome, which is probably armor, and which is why he's practically wearing the mask to absorb it, so he doesn't get shot in the face, ideally. But he gives the speech about, putting super soldiers like Cap on a pedestal, like the whole flaws speech, which is so great, and it's a wonderful callback to Civil War because he has that phenomenal moment where Captain America walks up to him after everything he's put through in framing Bucky and everything in that movie. Meeting you for the first time after he's behind that protective glass, I noticed the slightest bit of green in your perfect blue eyes. It's like, yes, again, Zemo's all about looking at the flaws here and applying that to basically voicing what Sam's going through here is this whole, so we put super soldiers on a pedestal and we forget their flaws, which gets you guys like Red Skull. And again, Cap was wonderful, but again, he did have his flaws, like his loyalty to Bucky and his refusal to compromise during Civil War. Which again, Cap wasn't necessarily wrong, but again, he could have downplayed certain things. He could have a negotiation could have happened, but he wasn't wrong. And this leads me to speculate, like on principle. I think he's going to try to kill Bucky because he says no hard feelings about all the stuff that went down in Civil War. But I'm convinced at the end of this, he's going to try to kill Bucky to wipe out the last of the super soldiers if he can.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, I think he's definitely going to aim to try to kill U.S. Agent, like the new symbol of Captain America. I think I wonder if he's going to try and take over the Flag Smashers by the end of the season, and then maybe try to kill U.S. Agent.
I mean, heck, Bucky wants to kill him.
I know that. Well, Bucky won't. Though, to be fair, Bucky just wants to kick the crap out of U.S. Agent. He doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to punch him and take the shield.
Okay, speaking of U.S. Agent,
yes.
Oh, you sound excited.
Oh, I'm very excited. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay, well, this is going to be where we differ then. I'm not thrilled with the fact that they're like turning him like, I don't want to say evil, but definitely like super antagonistic so quickly. I was hoping we'd spend a little bit more time in the morally ambiguous zone with him.
Well, here's the thing, and by the way, it's so fun. Wyatt Russell, he's getting a kick out of people being divided on him. By the way, he's getting a huge kick out of it, kind of like McKeon from Better Call Saul.
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that's the most compelling part of the character is the fact that you can't really read him, and I think the more he just goes after Bucky and Sam, the more that it's like, okay, this guy's like, I don't want him to become the A-word, essentially. That's my worry with him.
Well, to be fair, Tiki, he's essentially in the right still. He hasn't really veered off the path quite yet.
He's dipping his toe into like, oh, we should do some stuff that's he's basically saying, oh, we should be shady,
I know that's what I'm saying. I like that we're laying the track though. He's not there yet. But like, for example, the moment I just loved with John Walker in this episode was the whole when he gets Captain America essentially our Captain America symbol gets spit in the face and he does not handle it well. Do you know who I am? He just freaks out on that guy. I just love that as like the perfect moment after we build him up compellingly in the previous episode. That's the crack in the armor. That's what's going to get us to U.S. Agent right there. That and he's going off books versus again what Bucky and Falcon are saying. No, you can't help us because you have to play by the rules. Which again, that's his whole shtick. That's why he's Captain America. He's going to play by the rules, and we're seeing the fracture points kind of teed up here. And I'm convinced what's going to happen. I could be wrong, but I really think this is going to happen. I think we're building to the John Walker story, the way we're going to play it out. The moment the government doubts him with maybe they kind of find, hey, you're going off books here, man. What's the deal? The moment they doubt him, because he thinks right now, hey, if we get results, they'll be fine with it. That's not going to happen. The moment they doubt him, he's going to panic and he's going to get his hands on one of those vials of super soldier serum. He's going to go nuts. He's going to go full U.S. Agent, and it's going to take. I'm going to speculate this Battlestar. I think we're going to do a reverse end to Winter Soldier with Battlestar. I think Battlestar is going to be Bucky, who's going to be trying to save Cap from himself.
Interesting.
That's my speculation where we're going with all the Walkers based on this.
I just, like I said, I don't want him to. I just don't want to go down the Homelander road with him because I feel like the MCU, like I don't get me wrong, I don't want to say that like every bad superhero that has like although it is oddly specific, like an evil Captain America.
Well, he's very patriotic, being the point. But,
yes,
I mean the other guy's literally called Homelander.
Like, I don't know, but I just think I don't want to like directly compare him to Homelander, but I feel like at this point Homelander is kind of like he's like an icon of the comic book genre now. Like he's a top tier comic book villain
Homelander's
right
back
now.
in vogue thanks to the show, big time. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, Tiki. Here's the element I think the big telling element of how that story is going to go is John Walker has a wife, and I think when we see her reaction to all this, which we got because we gave her a nice build up in that introduction episode, like they have that locker room scene. I think that's going to be a telling moment for how we're going to approach this. I think we're just going to be I think we're going to be feeling sorry for him and rooting for him when he's kind of playing in the antagonistic side of things. I think, but we'll see. I could be wrong.
I definitely think it'll be more sympathetic than freaking what's her name.
You mean Carly Ponte Morgenthau?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I'm sorry.
should we talk some Madripoor, or should we just go to the Flag Smash just to get it out?
Well, let's get it out of the way. I'm not sold on this plot line at all. Tell me that scene with her and her brother, her friend, or whoever the hell.
It's one of the other guys on the team. Tiki, it's not that.
All right, but that scene, it's like, tell me that wasn't just like the most thick, oh yes, remember that time that this happened, that gave us our motivation.
Well, here's the problem, okay? I'll admit, here's the problem that I'm gonna give it a wait and see on, because I'll admit I wish it was in the episode, so I think people would be a little less kind of unsure about it. Is that we introduced, oddly enough, Tiki, another Madani.
Yes, I definitely noticed that, Dragon. That went off on my radar right away.
You know what's funny? The one of the director.
Oh God, Dragon, tell him about
so Jacob in the Punisher, Marvel Netflix show, there's a character called Dina Madani, one of the main kind of supporting characters. So she's she's a little iffy at times, but the point is Dina Madani. So here we have Donya.
She was much improved in season 2.
True. So we have Donya. So here we have Donya Madani. So it's a little similar.
I know it's a D Madani, Dragon.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though, Tiki. It's funny. So they're kind of, I don't know if I heard it might split this season compared to WandaVision, because WandaVision had one director through the whole thing, Matt Shakeman. I forget her name, but the director, Carly Scolan, yes. So the director on this, she directed an episode from the first season of The Punisher. So it's kind of like little connective tissues. I know it wasn't
really
season
weird.
2, but it's so I don't know if she's going to be directing all of them, but she's at least I believe slated to direct the first 4. So. Anyway, but so the Madani thing is that her backstory, from what I can tell, and I wish I had more of a definite answer on this, is that I assume that's her mother, her adopted mother, or something, and she's dying. I assume something had to do with the blip happened, and basically because of that, that's why I want to know why the mission was formulated in connection to her. Because if you look, she's got this bracelet with the symbol that they adopted, that she gave them. The whole little globe in the hand, the globe in the handprint. Which is on her little bracelet. It's basically, so this lady is key in the formation of the Flag Smashers. Now, Tiki, let me ask you this, because I know you're down on the actress portraying the leader of the Flag Smashers, but we got something in this episode that really intrigued me about the Flag Smashers, the GRC. We really tackled the whole global repatriation committee.
Yeah, that's true, and I do like that angle of it, Dragon. I really just wish it was done by a more compelling actress, and I feel bad, and I do very much agree with Connor that this actress is, more or less kind of like, it's just she's weirdly, very specifically typecast.
Yeah, a lot of mass characters for her. Yeah,
mass characters that are starting an arguably problematic revolution. It's oddly specific, Dragon.
But speaking of that revolution, though, so again, I love the GRC ad on the rewatch, because I love the catch, the credo, the kind of the cell line is reset, restore, rebuild. So that gives me an idea. That gives me a really interesting idea of what the Flag Smash is all about. I just wish we had it confirmed with the whole Madani thing. Is that it's kind of a continuation of what we saw in WandaVision, where we can't reset our trauma and just go back to the way things were. And essentially, from what I can tell, I wish I knew why, but that's where the Flag Smashers are coming from. We can't reset. That's baseline. That's what their mission's about. We can't reset, and we're going to stop. We're going to address that in kind of a big terroristic sort of way.
Yeah, but then she went and killed a bunch of innocent people with that bomb.
Yeah, so definitely indefensible for sure. If there were any doubts, surely, she's killed them to send a message. So this is the only way they're going to understand it.
And even the guy she was with, even he seemed to disagree with that.
That's the guy who kicked poor Torres in the head.
Yes, but he didn't kill though.
Oh, I did, but he kicked the broken orbital bone. That guy was. But no, you're right though. No, I agree. That's how I can remember that guy. He's the long-haired guy who kicked that poor Torres in the head.
Even he seemed to disagree with the bombing of the building, which is
He did.
It's like almost like this isn't what we. I'm kind of expecting him to be like, this isn't what we stand for.
So we gave Carly a big kind of ace up her sleeve this episode. So we revealed that she has the last remaining vials of super soldier serum. Which, given that 8 of her guys took it already, that leaves roughly that's 12 serums left, and one of her guys is dead. So they got 7 super soldiers and 12 vials left. That ain't good.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who made them is now dead.
Yes.
But speaking of which, I wonder if the guy that he was talking about, like they found the blood. I wonder if he was talking about Isaiah.
Oh, they absolutely were talking about Isaiah, Jacob. Should we just jump to the nagel of it all?
Yeah, sure.
All right, yeah. So Dr. Wilfred Nagel, this guy, little creep. This guy. So this guy was from the Isaiah Bradley story. He's from the Truth, the Red, White,
Is
Black.
this guy the guy that you were worried was going to be the?
No, Tiki. This is great. He confirmed that we're not doing that guy.
Okay,
So
cool. All right.
This is not. See, if they said Carl Mullis, if this guy was Carl Mullis, I was at the edge of my seat. Please don't be Carl Mullis.
He even kind of looks like him too.
Well, no, Carl Mullis had the ponytail and everything. Too.
Who's Carl Mullis?
Yeah, but this guy kind of has he's got like a weird sort of he's got like the balding long hair. I don't know, vaguely similar.
Who is Carl Mullis?
Carl Mullis was basically the actual character from So in the comics, the Power Broker is a group, and their scientist is a guy named Dr. Carl Mullis, who was in Jessica Jones season 2, who basically kind of gave people superpowers like the Power Broker does. And here they blended the Isaiah Bradley story, and I thought this was a genius call. One, because we don't have to discount the Marvel Netflix universe. I'm very fond of that. But more importantly, it's a big tie into the Isaiah Bradley story with Dr. Nagel, who's like one of the pricks who kind of really mistreated the poor guy.
Yeah.
So again, this is a great story call. I'm jazzed that we did that, and again, just a little happy personally. But regardless, so we used Isaiah's blood to make this happen, and again, we mentioned that people went into Isaiah's cell all the time when he was unjustly incarcerated for 30 years, and basically between Hydra and the U.S. government. And the idea is that the CIA specifically, they drew the blood, and it was kind of like the Operation Paperclip thing from way back when, almost, where after Hydra went down in Winter Soldier, Nagel found work with the CIA because they didn't know that he was a member of Hydra. CIA worked with him, and he just by happenstance, CIA did that shady stuff to Isaiah Bradley, so he had the X factor to make the super soldier serum. So again, the government really screwed up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But more so, go on.
He was an interesting, interesting kind of lines we're connecting here, but I feel like this is where once again, Dragon, I'm going to cite I'm not as into the deep seeds of these characters and the backstory and everything, so I wasn't I wasn't as into it as you seem to be, but it was definitely an interesting direction to go.
More so, I love the aftermath of this scene. I love the scene on the plane where Sam's kind of taken in the events that have happened throughout the episode.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the bigger takeaway here. I love Sam questioning the cost of that hunk of metal. That's a great scene between him and Bucky, talking about the shield like a hunk of metal, like a hunk of metal with a dark legacy versus the optimistic legacy Bucky's defending to be.
Also, I definitely, speaking of Bucky, one of the elements of this episode that was a little bit in the background, but I think we're going to get fleshed out a little. It seems that Bucky might be slipping just a little bit. Like he might be getting a little bit too comfortable with his old Winter Soldier persona.
Oh yeah, when that music came into play, buddy, that's not just the music of a guy pretending to be the Winter Soldier. That's a guy who's kind of slipping into it big time for a moment.
Mm-hmm. But at the same point, we had the Captain America music cue with him, and saying that he was going to take up that mantle. So I like that we're kind of throwing some different shades of gray with Bucky.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that when we did that early, when we did that with Bucky, again, he's kind of, it's also Bucky confronting his demons after that therapy session kind of went really bad between him and Sam. So again, it's kind of, here's the thing. that fight was recorded on cell phone video, so I'm sure, I'm convinced that's going to come back to bite him in the butt once, like, when we get into like parole stuff and everything. With
Right, yeah.
like, I don't care if
I wonder if his therapist will see it.
I mean, she's bound to, because also you got to remember, technically, his fate was in the hands of U.S. agent who's not going to be looking really favorably on him once he has evidence that he that they pinched Zemo at a lot. Sure.
And I'm just wondering if how much more the therapist will even fit into stuff. I wonder if she has a big stake in any of this.
It'll be interesting to see.
If I were to guess, I would say that it's probably just like a, kind of like a meter for where Bucky is in his life at the start of the show. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. I could be wrong though. We'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of Bucky Cap fans are really excited because they're saying, "Oh, Bucky expressed the desire to wield the shield." Because instead of destroying it, before you destroy it, I'm gonna punch that guy. I'm gonna take his shield.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and that's gonna be interesting because again, I like that we are kind of getting a lot of people. I like how we're gonna. I think by the end of this, best case scenario, we're gonna appease a lot of the fans on both sides of that camp about the whole who should wield the shield. And at the end of the day, it's gonna be like a team shield sort of thing. They're gonna be they're gonna be Cap buddies. That's what it's gonna be kind of like they're honoring the shield equally.
Captain's America.
Yeah, there you go. And again, as people have said better than I, they've always said there's been the great statement of Sam is what America should be, much like Steve Rogers was, and Bucky is what America is, which again, are at the moment, we have the dark secrets, and compromises, and again, people are trying to work our way back for some bad stuff. So that's kind of what they're going to be in representations of America. Let's go away from America for a second, boys. Let's go to Madripoor. Let's talk Madripoor big time here.
Right.
So this is definitely the cost-effective episode. I think we can say that much. We have the fun undercover story. It was fun though. We're exploring a great location in Madripoor. I love the whole high town, low town of it all, and they have many people just kind of shorthanded the whole John Wick effect once the bounty goes online. Everyone's going after you. Yep. You already mentioned the smiling tiger of it all. You want to speak to that a little bit?
I mean, I don't have much more to say about it. I like the. I like how we have the phone call, which, at first you think he's screwed, but then, did you guys get this vibe where it's like, would have actually pulled it off if she didn't name drop him at the end of the phone call?
I mean, they don't know. Perhaps he has kids. For all they know, he's talking to a girlfriend or something with kids. They can't really judge it based on it until he says Sam.
Right.
I think they'll forgive the Cheerios thing, but the moment they say Sam, wait a minute. Smiling Tiger's name is Conrad. What is this?
It would have been funny if he had Sam's a nickname.
Yeah, actually, my nickname is Snap Wilson, but we forgot that. Anyway, so we had two mysteries teed up in this episode. These are kind of mysteries for the next 3 episodes. We're looking for Selby was killed. So the interim lady, who I believe is like a mutant in the comics, and I think they kind of again they tied to the Madripoor, so that's kind of cool. But we're still skirting the mutant line so far in the Disney Plus shows, it seems. But we'll see where that goes after Multiverse of Madness and whatnot. We're ducking the power broker. So the power broker, we don't know who it is. Some people speculate as to who, and I invite you guys to kind of throw out some theories outside of Howard the Duck. And someone has shot Selby, and I'm pretty sure it's not Sharon. I'm pretty sure that Sharon couldn't have killed Selby because then she shoot basically positionings and everything. I could be wrong, but I don't think that she killed Selby. Some people are speculating that Sharon Carter is the power broker, which I doubt.
That's what I've heard. I don't have any speculation.
Yeah, I don't
know.
I really don't think that the power broker is Sharon.
Do you think it's somebody new or?
Here's the thing. I'm afraid of what's going to happen with this power broker mystery because personally, the power brokers, knowing just being a little familiar with them, they went the different direction with the Karl Moss thing. Thank goodness. Is that the power broker's not really? It's not an icon. Not supposed to be an iconic character. I mean, at least usually, it's just a guy in a business suit. That's really pretty much what it is. Business suit controls the lab guy. That's usually how that dynamic goes. And the lab guy comes back a couple times, which we're not doing here, which is fine. So I'm not expecting anyone to be the power broker, but I'm afraid the internet is, and that worries me.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm afraid all the speculation. The biggest theory I've heard that would be interesting, but I I wouldn't bank on it, is that Zemo's somehow the power broker, which I'm not saying they couldn't make that work, but I mean, because think about it, Zemo's in the bar at the same time, and he's basically downplaying the whole power broker. That's where the theory is coming from, which I mean, maybe, but I don't see it personally. I don't know.
Though hopefully people have learned that just because your fan theories didn't come true doesn't necessarily make it bad.
Yeah, and the other thing I don't get, like, why are we speculating that's a big name when people just instantly Google it or something? Oh, the Power Broker's is kind of an average show. All right, there you go. It's like, why are we? It has to be Mephisto or something. Come on.
Right. Oh God.
Maybe it's Mr. Fantastic.
Oh God.
Don't give anyone ideas, Jacob. That's going to lead to a whole.
John Krasinski.
What if it's Victor Von Doom?
It's Jim from The Office.
God, honestly, I do appreciate. I'm just hoping they can stick the landing with it. I like the idea of the Power Broker being really menacing, because the Power Broker has sent people to kill the Flag Smashers, and again, the guy who's unlocked. I want the Power Broker to be menacing, given that he is like the scourge of like the big head honcho of Madripoor. I like the build up there. That's like the graffiti, like the Power Broker is watching. That's
cool.
I
like that. Yeah.
I just kind of hope it doesn't evolve into like there's like too many villains kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like you look at Winter Soldier. We had a good slathering of villains that didn't get in the way, because you just had you had Armin Zola, you had Sitwell being kind of a double crosser. You got Crossbones, and Batroc being awesome, and of course the Winter Soldier and Rob referenced 6 villains. Yeah, didn't feel crowded.
Yeah. But that's also a movie, This
is like a big movie. It's six episodes.
I know, but like confined within the series, though.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see. So we should let's talk about. I think the last thing we really have would be talking about Sharon.
All right. Mm-hmm. I thought she was fine. I didn't really get that big of an impression on her. I never really have in the MCU. I do think it's interesting that, it's kind of like an everyman's perspective on what went down during Civil War. So
this is like a second appearance.
I got to admit that I should rewatch Civil War, because I forget exactly what role she played in that.
Well, we talk about it a lot here, Tiki. It's like
I know we do. I just forget the exact details of it.
Gotcha. So here's the thing. I've heard a lot of people. I don't know, maybe a lot. I don't know. I've heard people divided on Sharon Carter's portrayal here, because, she's relatively different than she was in her movie appearances, because she's a lot more.
I can understand that, given the plot circumstances. That doesn't bother me.
And that's my point, T. I think people are forgetting the plot circumstances, but also if they even want more to kind of cinch it for them, is that in the comics, Sharon Carter has been through that character just goes through a lot. Like in the comics, she was the trigger man on the death of Captain America. She was hypnotized by Dr. Faust to shoot her boyfriend at the time, shoot Captain America and kill him. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot. That's something to work your way back from. So just doing it kind of the MCU equivalent here, like, she's been through a lot. She basically, think about this. Her whole thing in the MCU is that every system she's ever trusted has let her down. Even in a sense, her helping out Captain America has made her a fugitive. She can't see her family anymore, and you feel bad for her. So that's the thing I think people are kind of forgetting when they're kind of like, I don't like how antsy, how kind of not so chipper Sharon Carter is. Well, I mean, think about it. 2 years and a blip does a lot to a person. But I love that we use her, it seems, to give Sam perspective on Cap's legacy in the negative. And this kind of brings out the positive in Sam, because he's actually stepping up to the plate in that scene where he's kind of saying, look, he's kind of being the optimistic voice in the room, promising to do right by her. Because, again, the only reason she didn't get pardoned because she wasn't in the big endgame fight. That's the only reason she wasn't pardoned. So, yeah, it's kind of bringing out Sam's inner Cap. So, again, yay, Sharon Carter. But there's definitely more story to tell with Sharon, because she is hiding something. She's talking to some lady when she was kind of going off in the episode. And that's the thing that's giving people all that power broker kind of whispers, which I don't think is true, but something's going on with Sharon. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. And then, of course, we get the big cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
Which I will admit, I did because of all the holiday stuff going on. I didn't get a chance to watch this episode until today, and somehow I didn't have that spoiled for me in the last 2 days. So yeah, I feel accomplished in that regard.
Yeah, this is a heck of an Easter egg, man. This is less Easter egg, big kind of. We get AO from Civil War. So remember T'Challa's bodyguard, the Dora Milaje that appeared in Civil
Oh
War?
yeah, I just assumed it was a Dora Milaje member. Yeah, that's.
Oh no,
that's
it's even better. It's like it's not just a Dora. I'm saying it's one of the Dora Milaje that was in Civil War, like his bodyguard before we got Okoye and everything.
Oh
This
really?
was her. Yeah,
Oh,
she
wow.
predates Okoye. That's the cool thing. I love that we got this. We went to the actual. It wasn't just a random Dora Milaje. It was like the one from Civil War. So the one who was, I assume, one of the one who probably also tried to protect, King T'Chaka as well. So that makes it even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, so also she's contacting the White Wolf of all people, who again we kind of threw off as a gag last episode, but this is just a genius idea to me. That, of course, Wakanda. It makes perfect sense they're going to get involved when Zemo gets broken out, given his role in the destabilization of things, and also, I like that Wakanda. It makes perfect sense because it could aid in the whole Black experiential part of the angle of the show, Falcon and the Isaiah Bradley stuff. I think that's a genius call. Of course, you want Wakanda in this show,
and it's the first time in the show that I really felt like the story was moving somewhere beyond just kind of like the kind of the ruminations of Cap's legacy side of things, and I'm excited for that.
And so far, we get a really solid guest star each episode. If you think about it, we got Rhodey in episode 1. Of course, we got we got kind of Zemo at the end of episode 2, and I'm beyond that too. We just had the whole John Walker, but all introduced.
Yeah, you're right. It seems like each episode kind of has like a big character that kind of like I don't think Rhodey was like the focus of episode 1, obviously, but
sure.
But yeah, it is kind of a cool pattern though.
Yeah.
All right. So final thoughts, gentlemen.
I thought this was a solid episode. Thought it was a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll get to see where it goes from here. I'm kind of excited, and maybe we'll get to see more of Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Zemo.
They'll seem add that for an episode. And Zemo.
Oh God!
Before he starts shooting again.
I mean, considering they messed around with the WandaVision title cards, it's not entirely out of the question that would happen.
It's been Zemo all along.
Oh God! And where's the purple mask too? Maybe there's a crossover. You know what's funny? Just to mention it though. One, I'm hoping. I don't think they're going to do this, but hopefully they will continue not to kill Zemo. Hopefully, I think what they're going to do is sometimes you do this thing called the Masters of Evil, which essentially is like kind of the villains forging a team like the Avengers. And this is the guy to do that. This is the guy to build that team if they keep him around.
Or they could use him to lead into Doctor Doom, or what if they make him? What if they? This is this is a huge stretch. What if he becomes Doctor Doom or something?
That's a stretch.
Yeah, another world.
I know it's a stretch, but I'm just saying.
Oh, look, what's funny? The MCU keeps casting actors who'd also be perfect as Doctor Doom, but we can't do that now.
I know, right? That is kind of...
Mads Mikkelsen was always my pick for Doctor Doom, but we can't have that now. And
then especially now. Right?
I know.
Yeah.
You have Daniel Brühl, who would have been great as well, but...
You know what? I'm honestly kind of upset that they wasted... I really feel like they wasted Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, he was good in Doctor Strange, but his role was kind of a nothing role.
I mean, basically gets overshadowed by Dormammu, which is not hard, by the way, because he's freaking Dormammu. I mean, come on. Anyway,
Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor. I mean, that's a fun. Okay, so
it's strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
Who am I to judge?
Yep. Well, yeah, that's again with the purple mask of it all too, and that was the Agatha connect. It's kind of funny. All right.
Final thoughts, Dragon?
Yeah, again, I think it's some solid plotting, and we're threading the needle very well. And again, it's not the whammo blammo kind of again, it's not the big sell of episode 2, but again, it's assuming all of it pays off like so far the evidence suggests it will. I think we're in good shape. Again, the only hesitations I have going forward are with the Flag Smasher story. If we're gonna, a part of me after this episode is a little afraid of, oh man, I wonder if 6 episodes is enough, because this is a good story, man. But For all I know, maybe they're going to go the full hour on the last episode if they're really in a pinch. Who knows? But I don't know. I got faith in them just based on these first 3 episodes. Again, there's a lot of story here. Seemingly it's really well threaded, and hopefully the flag smash thing comes in the book as to exactly why they're doing what they're doing. But assuming they do that, I think we're in great shape. This is a great kind of domino that we're starting to tip.
All right, well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano a mano, just Plus and Us.
You can move your seat up? No.